Alright, it's working now. Sorry, had some problems with it earlier. Just got back from the A&M Okie State game. Just got back, saw some family, but this game was kind of a disappointment. I expected A&M to drop it, but there were a lot of problems, really offensively and defensively. I thought the score was a little bit complimenting to us. I don't think that we played as well as we did against UAB, Utah State, or New Mexico. I thought that today wasn't the best performance that this team's ever put up. The main problems were number one, we're still giving up the big play. You know, Zach Robinson was a little bit erratic today, and that was another thing that really helped us. Zach was off target on a lot of his throws, but when push came to shove, he would hit the receiver for the big time play, and that was one thing that really hurt us. And number two, our run defense was non existent. Keith Toston had us all day. The defensive line was pushed around. Oklahoma State won in the trenches, and that's a hell of a job for Okie State. I'm not saying it's just that our run defense is bad, because we made some good plays. But overall, Okie State's offensive line really just controlled the game. On the running side, anyway, they pushed around the defensive line. They gave Toston holes to work through. He was able to push between the guard and the center and the tackle and just kind of go off on the Texas A&M defense, and that was a big-time disappointment on the defensive side. Offensively, the running game was non-existent. Cyrus Gray had a couple of decent plays. Christian Michael had a couple of nice carries, but both players averaged below 4 yards a carry. They weren't able to get between the tackles. They weren't able to gain yards. They weren't really able to set Gerard Johnson up. And I think the running game and the poor pass protection really hurt Gerard. When he was able to set his feet, he made some big-time throws. It was either the third or the fourth quarter. Gerard hit Howard with a great throw, gained about 20, 30 yards. Just a beautiful throw, in stride, between two defenders, and right to Howard. Only he could make that play. But when Gerard had to run, when the offensive line didn't protect, and that was a lot more than you want to see. He was erratic, he was off target, and there were about two or three dropped passes that a lot of people around me were saying, well, gosh, these receivers need to be catching the ball. Brandel Jackson's dropping it. Easy Wachaku's dropping it. And I would just look at him and I would go, the ball is either 2 feet above the receiver's head, skipping off the ground to him, behind them, and below their knees. They were just some really erratic, skittish throws. And this was a guy that people in the battalion were talking about for the Heisman Trophy. And the last 2 weeks, Arkansas and Okie State, he has looked more like the Gerard Johnson from 2008 than the super savior that we all thought he was in the first 3 games. And I admit I drank the Kool-Aid. Gerard is better than he was in 2008, I will say that, but he's not the superstar that we've made him out to be. There were some positives, though. The special teams was fantastic. Randy Bullock hit the huge 50-yard field goal. I thought our kick and punt returns were solid. Punt and kick coverage was all right. Kick coverage more so than punt coverage. Trying to think of any other positives. Pass blocking, although it still was not where it should be, took a step up from the Arkansas game. I felt Gerard had more opportunities to sit back in the pocket and make throws than he did in the Arkansas game, although his completion percentage was lower. The receivers did a great job. Easy Wachaku, like I said before. Brandel Jackson made some plays. Howard Morrow stepped up. Howard Morrow was probably the player of the game because he made some great catches. He was just a big-time contributor. Tannehill had some great catches. McCoy out at the tight end position did well, and the fullback position did well. Defensively, the pass rush was good. I felt that we gave Robinson a lot more heat than we gave Ryan Mallett, and that's a huge step forward, again, from last week. The tackling was still subpar. I wasn't impressed with that. It was about the same as the Arkansas game, really. The pass coverage was okay. We gave up a couple of big plays that we really shouldn't have. but it was a step up from the Arkansas game. I think in this loss, although we did play sloppy, and I said in the beginning of the video that it was probably closer than it should have been, it's a big step up from the Arkansas game. The Arkansas game, we clicked early, and then it was complete disarray for the next 45 minutes. In this game, although there were moments where we were inconsistent, where we were slot bucket, we had moments where we were playing high quality Big 12 football, I thought. There was the goal line stand. I thought, well, it was in the red zone. I'm calling it a goal line stand because they were inside the 5. It was just, there were some great defensive efforts, and then they gave up huge plays. There were some great plays on offense, and then the offense would just fall apart. There was hot and cold. But I'm looking at the high points from this year, and they're better than the high points from last year. I'm looking at the low points from this year, and they're not as bad as the low points from last year. We have taken steps forward. And although you would rather win the game, it's definitely an improvement. And I think going into K-State next week, that'll be a fun game. I think Kansas State is better than I thought they were. I still don't think they're very good. I think it's a should win. But at the same time, they're playing okay football. And I think going into Manhattan, that'll be a very interesting game, and we'll see if we can keep the consistency up and go there and beat the hell out of K-State. So in summary, inconsistent, but there are steps forward, and it was a lot better than last week. I was energized throughout the whole game. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we couldn't come out of there with a W. But anyway, thanks and gig 'em, guys. Farmers fight, and hopefully we keep taking these steps forward for K-State.